Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakotisamprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। ओम पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्धदामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीं यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्ख्यपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तन्न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Namaste once again, all of you.
Namaste Guruji, pranam.
Pranam. जितात्मनः प्रशान्तस्य परमात्मा समाहितः शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु तथा मानापमानयोः. So in this sixth chapter, which is dealing with the topic of meditation, Vedantic meditation, first Lord Krishna is talking about the general preparations to be followed by a meditator. And these general preparations we call Bahiranga Sadhanani or Samanya Sadhanani. And Lord Krishna emphasized 4 such disciplines. The first Bahiranga Sadhanam is learning to maintain a balanced mind during the day-to-day transactions. When the mind reacts violently during day-to-day transactions, these transactions will be registered in the mind. And naturally, during meditation, those registered reactions will again be replayed. And only those reactions will come during time of meditation. Sit, eyes closed, oh, that person spoke to me like that. Huh? I bet I gave him back. All these kind of things. And therefore, avoidance of violent reactions during our day-to-day dealing is discipline number 1, which we called samatvam. And one can maintain samatvam by following karma yoga principles, which Krishna mentioned in third chapter. Then the second Bahiranga sadhana or general discipline that Krishna highlighted is self-confidence. Because if a person does not have confidence in himself, then any help coming from outside will not be of any use at all. Whether it is the grace of the Lord, Ishwaran Kripa, or whether it is grace of the teacher, Guru Kripa, whether it is the grace of the scriptures, Shastra Kripa, all these graces will be of some use only if there is self-grace, Atma Kripa. And self-grace or Atma Kripa is nothing but self-confidence. Atma Kripa is required to follow the spiritual path and to progress in this path. One must never ever have any doubt about either the path or one's ability to reach the goal. Therefore, this is the second value, which is self-confidence. Then the third discipline Krishna talked about is self-effort, prayatnam. If a person is fate-oriented person, destiny-oriented person, we cannot talk anything to that person because he is going to say everything is destiny driven. He is going to resign everything to destiny. And such people will argue that if God wants me to get moksha, then I will get liberation. If God does not want me to get liberated, then whatever effort I put, it will be useless. It's a very interesting argument, If God has decided that I will get liberated, no effort is required because God has already decided. And if God has decided that I will not get liberation, all my effort is useless. So first case, effort is not needed. In the second case, effort is useless. Either way, I need not do anything. Fatalistic approach. Krishna does not approve of or accept this approach. Krishna says individual effort is required. In fact, it is the individual effort alone which helps in tapping the grace of God, the Lord. And we should look at it in another way. It is because of the individual efforts that we have actually put in the past janmas that we earned punyam. And all the encashment of punyam is nothing but the grace of the Lord. So therefore, individual effort is the most important thing. Self-confidence, individual effort, all these are all very essential. Therefore, the third discipline, third value is self-effort. So poise of mind, self-confidence, self-effort. Three Bahiranga Sadhanani. And the fourth Krishna talked about is another important discipline, self-management or self-mastery. What do we mean by that? Every organ is given to me as an instrument by the Lord or gifted by the Lord to me. The physical body is an instrument. The sense organs of knowledge and action, Jnanendriyani and Karmendriyani, they are instruments. My mind is a wonderful instrument. And above all, my intellect is the most powerful instrument which helps me to take all decisions in my life. By using all these instruments, I can accomplish anything in life. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, all four Purusharthas are accessible to me if only I am willing to put these organs into proper use. And this requires two things. First is the organ should be healthy in themselves. An unhealthy body an unhealthy mind and intellect, they cannot accomplish anything. On the other hand, they will be a burden for me. Therefore, every organ should be healthy. And secondly, all organs must function in coordination. Otherwise, what will happen? The effort of one organ will be neutralized by the opposite effort of another organ. Imagine your intellect has decided to attend the Gita class. This is exactly, if you observe what is happening in our class, is this. Your intellect has decided to attend the Gita class, and this is a decision on the part of the intellect. And let us hope it's a right decision. But then what happens? Some relatives, some friends you come across, and you fall a prey to their emotional demands. So while the intellect says, I want to go to Gita class, the mind is driven away emotionally to the demands of your friend or relative or whomsoever you have come across. And even if you come into the class, the mind should cooperate with you. Which means you should have a relaxed mind, a non-wandering mind, which is available behind the ears to listen to the words, to the teaching. If the mind refuses to cooperate and it is wandering all over, looking at what is going on in your house behind, in the background, what is cooking in the kitchen, how many people have come to the class, how many have marked their attendance, what I need to do immediately after the class. Should I stay back for the Q&A session, or I should just log out and then do something else? Suppose you are going to be bothered about all this, you will be here, but you won't hear. So now what is the problem? The intellect has made the decision, mind refuses to cooperate. Then the decision of the intellect becomes a waste. And therefore, the coordination, close coordination between all the organs is necessary. And this normally, on a day-to-day basis, we experience it. Early morning, your intellect and your mind have decided, from tomorrow, I am going to get up at 5 o'clock. Till now, you have been getting up at, let us assume, 7 o'clock in the morning. From tomorrow, I want to get up early morning, 5 o'clock. You have put the alarm, everything is there. Alarm goes, intellect and mind say, okay, now get up. But your body, your physical body, and also arms, limbs, they refuse to cooperate. They prod the mind. Half an hour more you sleep now. What big deal is there? Why should you get up at 5 o'clock? Again, lack of coordination. In short, all organs should function in harmony. That is self-mastery. So the health and harmonious function of the organs is self-mastery. And therefore, Krishna says that if these four are there, equanimity, self-confidence, self-effort and self-mastery, then spirituality will be successful. And here, whenever we are talking about self, remember we are referring to the body, mind, sense complex and not Sachidananda Atma. That you must remember in the context of meditation. And therefore, Krishna tells in this 7th verse, Jitatmanah Prashantasya. Suppose a person follows all these 4 disciplines, which means he is Jitatmanah. He has self-mastery, the one who has mastered, the one who is in charge of his life or her life. And as a consequence of that, what type of mind this person will enjoy? Prashantaha, a mind which is generally relaxed, which is free from violent turmoil at the thought level, which is free from stress and strain, and which is also free from extrovertedness. Such a mind is called Prashantaha. And what does he get? What is the advantage for him? Paramatma Samahitaha, he says. For such a person, recognizing the self, recognizing the reality is very easy, because he can then make use of the scriptures to his advantage. Knowing the Atma becomes the easiest job. Easier than traveling or going anywhere in the world. Suppose you want to go to some place, sir, let's say US you want to go, or even within India you want to go to Kailash Mansarovar or Badrinath and all that. Lot of effort is required. These places are all 10,000 feet high and all that. Oxygen is not there. So you have to prepare for so many things. But if you want to go to moksha, nothing is required. Wherever you are sitting, you can reach moksha by knowing the Atma, the real I. Therefore, if you have to know the Atma, the truth of yourself, it is comparatively very, very easy, if only you are able to go according to the scriptural teaching. And it is very easy because the scriptures reveal Atma as none other than the consciousness, which is available all the time. All pervading, available all the time. If it is a mysterious object, only available at a particular time, then you will have to do some work for it, isn't it? You will have to mark the time, wait for that time to come. So if the scriptures are going to talk about something which is available only at a particular time or particular state, then you will have to work hard for it. Because there are many mysterious experiences talked about in the scriptures. So many scriptures are there which requires meditation. And in fact, if you follow all that, that taking your mind to the different levels is all through meditation people achieve. So they say when your mind is at that particular level, only you can experience that particular object. They even talk about experiencing different lokas, higher world, higher beings, higher devatas, and which are not naturally available now. So the mind will have to be taken to a different state like a samadhi, etc., to experience the mysterious object. Whereas what the scriptures reveal is that the Atma, the truth, is not something available at a mysterious or a particular state alone. The Upanishads point out that you need not go anywhere to any other state of mind to know the Atma. Atma is the conscious principle which is available all the time in the form of consciousness. And this consciousness is available along with the thought of the mind. Every thought we become aware only because of consciousness. All that we have to do is only to turn our attention from the thought aspect of mind, the changing thought aspect of the mind, to the changeless consciousness. Even as you are listening to my talk now, there are two things which are in your mind. You are listening to my words, and in your mind, thoughts are occurring. Every word is creating a thought in your mind, and you are grasping the thought, understanding the thought. Even if you don't understand, doesn't matter. You may accept the thought or not accept the thought. The thoughts are variable, they keep changing. But in and through the variable thoughts, there is one non-variable constant principle, which is none other than the consciousness principle. Earlier we saw the example of light and hand. You must recall all those examples. Therefore, if there is one principle which is ever available, that is consciousness. So we need not go to any mysterious state to recognize consciousness. It is available even in the most ordinary waking state. So what is required is turning our attention from the thought to the ever prevailing, all pervading consciousness. And here Vedanta helps. Vedanta helps you by turning your attention to the already ever evident consciousness. And the reason I should consciously turn my attention is because at present my attention is in the thoughts which are occupying the mind and which are occurring in the mind. Either I am worried about the kama vritti, krodha vritti, or greed thought, this thought, that thought. So many thoughts are there. Vedanta says, instead of turning your attention to a particular thought in the mind, if you turn your attention to the consciousness, because of which you become aware of every thought, then you will be easily able to identify yourself with that consciousness and not with those thoughts. And therefore, what is Vedanta? Vedanta is a very simple thing, switching the attention from the changing thoughts to the changeless consciousness. And this turning the attention is possible only when the mind is relaxed, the mind is calm. A calm mind is a subtle mind. A mind which is turbulent and which is extrovert will be bothered about changing changing worries, changing anxieties. But it cannot turn attention to the thought of changeless consciousness. Therefore, some degree of effort is required to enjoy a relaxed mind, which is what we said, karma yoga helps. A highly dynamic, active, result-oriented, ambition-gripped mind wants to make use of every second. I don't want to waste my time. I want to achieve this. I want to achieve that. And in this pursuit, the mind is never relaxed. Vedanta requires a calm mind, and that is why prashantasya. And that is why throughout the spiritual journey, a relaxed mind is required. First of all, we require a relaxed mind to listen to the teacher. An extrovert mind cannot listen. As we saw, Kenopanishad beautifully says that Atma is evident all the time in every transaction, in every thought. Pratibodham viditam matam. Therefore, you need not have to go to any special meditation to experience the Atma. No, just like I do not have to go to any special meditation to recognize the light, because the light is experienced in and through every experience. Similarly, consciousness also does not require any special state of mind or any special meditation. It is available all the time. Therefore, Krishna says samahitaha, ever evident. And the beauty is, the person who has a relaxed mind, if you ask him whether consciousness is evident, or if you ask him when is the consciousness evident, that person will ask you a counter question. Tell me when the consciousness is not evident. In fact, missing the Atma requires effort. You cannot miss consciousness at all. Only thing is, you are ignorant of the fact that you are aware of the consciousness all the time. And that is why he uses the word samahita. Samahita, sam means samyak, very clearly. And this recognition has to be done in two stages. The first stage is turning the attention from thought to consciousness. It is just like, that hand example I used to give, turning your attention from the hand to the light. Similarly, in our mind also, the changing thoughts are there. Changeless consciousness is making us aware of the thoughts. Vedanta is nothing but shifting the attention from the changing thought to the changeless witness consciousness. This is the first part of the sadhanas. Then there is a second and more important part. When I recognize consciousness or turn my attention to consciousness, my tendency will be to say, I am the body, mind, sense complex, and I have consciousness. This is our initial approach. So who am I? I am the body, mind complex. And what do I have? I have consciousness, which illumines my thoughts. Now Vedanta says, you have to train your mind and reverse this approach. Instead of saying, I am the body, mind, sense complex and I have consciousness, what should I do? I have to reverse and claim that I am consciousness principle And I have the body-mind complex, which is an incidental instrument used by me. Total shifting of your identification. You are still there is an identification with the body, mind, sense complex. That is not denied. But that is only secondary identification. So I am the consciousness principle and I have a body, mind, sense complex, which is an incidental instrument used by me. That understanding should shift to this. And this is the biggest shift and the most important shift. And in fact, meditation is meant for this particular shift alone. This is what is called changing the orientation. I have to change my orientation. Because throughout, whenever I have given my biodata, it has been of my body, mind's oriented biodata. I have to scrap that by knowing that that is not my biodata. Then what is my biodata? Tattva Bodha students will recall. Tattva Bodha gives a universal biodata. What is that? I am Stula Sukshma Karana Sharirat व्यतिरिक्त है, अवस्थात्रय साक्षी, पंचकोश विलक्षण है, सच्चिदानंद रूप है सन यतिष्ठति स आत्मा. You have to recall that definition of Atma, which is beautifully given in Tattva Bodha. And while doing so, it will be useful to remember all the 5 features of Atma, which we have discussed a number of times. I don't think that it is necessary for us to repeat them. By now, you would have memorized that, the 5 features. And this is the description of consciousness, and that consciousness is by nature. That consciousness I am. And again, if we apply our mind, we can easily know all this through our day-to-day experience also. During sleep, we exist, but we do not transact. Extend this to death also. After death also, I do not transact, but non-transaction is not non-existence. Therefore, I exist all the time, either with transaction or without transaction. Transactions come and go. The transacting instruments also come and go. But I, the consciousness, am externally or eternally unaffected. And this is called Atma Jnanam. This is called discovering the real I. This is called owning the real I. And when I own up this real I, what is the benefit I get? Samabhavaha. He says Samaha Bhavet. Samaha Bhavati. This wise person is same at all times, unaffected by all pairs of opposite. Like what? Shita, Ushna, heat and cold, Sukha, Dukkha, happiness and sorrow, favorable condition and unfavorable condition. None of them will shake him. And not only that, he says, Tata mana apamana yoho. Because this manam apamanam is a very big issue. Always we are thinking what others will think of us. We are very worried about our social status and respect. Just, just look at, I mean, if you actually look at it, so many examples come. Suppose you and your spouse are going out somewhere. And if you happen to be a male, you may be wearing a t-shirt, or if it's a female spouse, then maybe some dress wearing. And many times it happens. Are you going to come with me with this kind of a dress? What will other people think? This is always, we are worried about what other people will think of us, what other people will think of us. And this extends to the behavior of our children also. We many times don't let our children be their natural self. I don't mean to say that you must not correct the children when they are wrong. You must not guide them and all that. But sometimes the natural behavior of children is so beautiful. And we superimpose an artificial behavior. We want to be politically right in whatever we say. Many times in the process, we are not even bothered about the truth, honesty, etc. We are only bothered about our name and fame, manam and apamanam. If such and such thing happened, what will happen to my name, my family name? Just mana apamana is the core idea of many film stories. Beautiful thing. I mean, they use this manam apanamanam to 3 hour story, beautiful story they will spin. And when it comes to apamanam, there are people who even go to the extent of committing suicide. Why do you think that many people who fail in their examinations like NEET exam or +2 and all that, children, they commit suicide? Not because they have failed. Because their failure, if other people come to know, there will be apamanam for them. And that is why they take their life. I don't want to face it. I don't want to face the other people. This manam, apamanam thing is so strong in our life. Our life is constantly tormented by these opposite experiences. And jnanam gives immunity against all these. And therefore he says, Sitoshna dukkheshu tatha manapamanayoho samaha bhavanti. Samaha remains unaffected. This is what a person who is going to get into meditation has to, as a preparatory work, he has to gain. And Krishna continues. Jnana vijnana triptatma kuthasto vichitendriyaha ityukta ityuchyate yogi samaloshtashmakanchanaha. The Anvaya of the sloka is Jnana Vijnana Trupta Atma Kutastaha Vichita Indriyaha Yuktaha Samaloshta Ashmakanchanaha Yogi iti uchyate. Jnana Vijnana Trupta Atma. One whose mind is satisfied through jnanam and vijnanam. Kutastaha, one who is steady, Vijita Indriyaha, and one who has mastered the sense organs. Yuktaha, a yogi. Samaloshta Ashmakanchanaha, for whom a lump of earth, stone, and gold are the same. Samam. Yogi, a yogi iti uchyate is called. But yukta, you can say a integrated person. One whose mind is satisfied through jnana and vijnana, who is steady, who has mastered the sense organs, and who is an integrated person, is called a yogi, for whom a lump of earth, stone, and gold are the same. So, this disciplined person goes through two stages of self knowledge. The first stage is called jnanam, and the second stage is called vijnanam. We have seen these two words in the third chapter also. Jnana vijnana nashanam, while talking about kama krodha. Now, these two words have got different meanings according to different contexts. But then we will just see a very simple meaning here based on what we have already discussed earlier. When you say, I am the body, mind, and I have consciousness, it is jnana. So consciousness is taken as part of the body and we take ourselves to the physical body. But then you are aware that there is something called consciousness. So that knowledge is there, so that is jnana. So why it is called jnana? At least I know that there is something called consciousness. Earlier I was not even aware of it. So at least I know this much, that I am the body and I am endowed with consciousness, which is a distinct principle which pervades and illumines the body. That is jnanam. Then what is vijnanam? Vijnanam is, instead of saying that I am the body and I have consciousness, I reverse it. I say I am the consciousness principle and I've got this body as a temporary instrument of knowledge, like the spectacles I am wearing. When I put on my spectacles, I am able to see and transact with the world. When I remove the spectacle, I may not be able to transact, but I continue to exist. In the same way, our body and mind are like this spectacle. When I use the body and mind, I have the waking state experience or dream state experience. When the body and mind are relaxed and resolved, I do not have waking or dream state. I will be in the deep state experience. So in that I do not have any transaction. But even without transaction, during deep sleep state, do I continue to exist or not? I continue to exist. Otherwise, nobody will go to sleep. If they know that once they're gone to the sleep, they will stop existing. And therefore, body and mind are more an instrument than myself. I always exist. In waking state, I use my physical body, jnanendriyas, karmendriyas, my mind, my intellect, everything. All these are instruments I use in waking state. In dream state, I don't use my karma, jnanendriya, karmendriya, but mind I still use. In deep sleep state, neither I use the mind, nor I use the jnanendriya, karmendriya, etc. But I still continue to exist in all these three states. I am the witness of all these three states. I know these three states only because I am the witness. And therefore, when I understand that the body, mind are more an instrument than myself, this attitudinal change, this change of identification is called Vijnanam. Therefore, the first stage, Jnanam stage, my understanding is I am the body-mind complex and I have consciousness. That is what we call Paroksha Jnanam. And the second one, Vijnanam, that I am consciousness and I have got the body, mind, sense complex as instruments for my transactions, is called Aparoksha Jnanam. So when the knowledge shifts from Paroksha Jnanam to Aparoksha Jnanam, only when that shift takes place, Jnana Vijnana Tripta Atma. Only when I shift my I or identification from the body to Atma, then alone my sense of limitation will go. As long as I am identifying myself with my body mind complex primarily, and the nature of the body mind sense complex being limited, I will always feel limited. My sense of limitation will continue. Only when I shift my identification to the limitless Atma, then alone my sense of limitation will go. Now, some people may ask, why should I shift my identification? I am very happy to claim that I am the body. Why should I know Atma and all that and thereafter struggle, nididhyasanam, and drop my identification with the body and develop a new identification with Atma, etc. Why all these headaches? Why can't I identify with my body itself? And for the Vedantic answer is, if you are comfortable with body identification, wish you all the best. We are not interested in changing your identification. But the problem is, as long as you are identified with the body, first there is fear of mortality, fear of old age, fear of disease, fear of death. Not after 50 or 60 years, but this fear is a constant companion throughout life. And not only we are afraid of our own death and old age, we are afraid of the death of our near and dear ones also. In fact, you can actually define samsara in one sentence: fear of death. Now, some people say, I am not afraid of death. Then you will be afraid of fear of old age will be there. Some people will say, I am not afraid of old age also. Then I will say it may be fear of disease. So whether it is fear in any form of old age, death, disease, etc., all these are called samsara. And if you say I'm comfortable with all these fear, then you don't require Vedanta. But if you say, I want to get rid of these fears, they are affecting me, they are affecting my efficiency, they are all making me always anxious, then better address the problem. And unfortunately, there is no medicine which can cure all the diseases. And if at all there are medicines which cure the diseases, the process will produce what we call iatrogenic diseases. Diseases caused when you take the treatment, the side effect of the medicines. So you took a medicine for headache and the headache goes, but stomach ache comes. This happens, isn't it? People have got this insulin problem. Not insulin, I'm sorry. What is that?
Diabetes.
No, not diabetes. People have got, of course, insulin also I got side effects. I was, what in my mind was this antibiotics. Many people, antibiotics may actually address the problem of infection, but many people, when they take antibiotics, their entire system gets affected. Side effects. And secondly, of course, there is no medicine for all diseases. There is no medicine for old age. Swami Paramathanandaji humorously says there is a science called gerontology, which deals with how to stop aging process. And he says, if you look at it, all gerontologists are old now. Many of them are dead also. So studying gerontology, they grew old perhaps faster. So there is no medicine which can immortalize the body. And in fact, this has been one of the dreams of human beings, isn't it? So many stories are there. This portion somebody made, he will become immortalized and all that. Immortality, attaining immortality is a very natural thing. And that is why mortality we are afraid of. We are immortals, that we have to realize. How do you go from mortality to immortality? No medicine can take you there. Only if you change your understanding that I am not a mortal, but I am immortal. And for which understanding the whole Vedantic scriptures are providing evidence. That is where you become immortal. Because if you are a mortal, you can never become immortal. From mortality to immortality cannot be converted. And Vedanta says that you are immortal. That can be validated only if by nature you are immortal, but somehow because of ignorance, you have been taking yourself as a mortal. And therefore, for these three basic problems like, death, disease, and old age, there is no remedy. If you are ready to face the problem, wonderful. Otherwise, better come to Vedanta and discover the fact that you are something higher than this decaying body. You are Nitya Shuddha Mukta Swabhava, ever free, ever eternal, ever undecaying, ever secure, ever beautiful, ever full. You, the higher I. So Vedanta says, if you identify with the higher I, you will no longer have fear of old age. You will shed your fear of old age, disease, and death. And if you want to discover the truth, Vedanta says, I am sitting in a counter, may I help you? Come to me. And therefore, the only solution is you have to discover the Atma, which is different from the body. And what do you get out of that? Your life becomes relaxed. No fear of death, no fear of old age, no fear of diseases. They don't belong to me. They belong to the body mind sense complex as an instrument which I have been using. I have been using my shoes, pair of shoes, for a long time, fully knowing that at one point in time, I will have to throw them away because of wear and tear. Similarly, I have been using this body mind sense complex since I was born, fully aware that at one point I will have to throw them away. I will have to get rid of them. They become old, they become, disease prone. I'll just discard them. So you get rid of all these fears because they all belong to my incidental shell of the body. They do not belong to the real me. So jnana vijnana triptaha, contented. Triptaha means contented, happy, fulfilled. And vijitendriyaha. Vijitendriya is the one who will be able to get this knowledge. Only the person who has mastered himself means mastered the body mind complex. That person alone will become jnana vijnana triptatma. One whose mind is fully satisfied with this wisdom and therefore kutastaha. Kutastaha means unshaken but by any event that happens in his life. And this is another problem. We cannot predict our future. I do not know what is going to happen tomorrow. Why tomorrow? I do not know what is going to happen the next moment. Every movement of the future is unpredictable. There are certain things which could be predictable but not controllable. For example, a cyclone. This modern technology, meteorological department, they predict there is going to be a cyclone. It is going to hit in such and such time at such and such coast. Severe cyclonic storm will form, etc. They can predict, but we do not have the resources to control the cyclone. At best, we can take some precautionary measures to reduce the impact. And therefore, future is unpredictable or uncontrollable or both. Therefore, there is a constant anxiety born out of uncertainty. And what is the best armor against these unpredictable events? Krishna says, knowledge alone is the kavacham. A wise person is not shocked by any possible event. He stands strong and unshakable, like the rock of Gibraltar, as they say. Kutastaha. And that is why in Indian tradition, when a boy gets the sacred thread or when the girl gets married, both of them have to undergo a particular ritual. That ritual is called Ashmarohanam, stepping over a rock solid stone. They keep a rock or a grinding stone, and the mantra is chanted. And the young boy has to put his feet on the stone. Similarly, during wedding, the girl has to step on that rock. And during that time, a mantra is chanted. The priest will say, Atishta imam ashmanam. Oh boy, oh girl, please step on this stone. For what purpose? Ashma ivatvam shiro bhavaha. May your mind be strong enough to welcome all kinds of situations in life. because the boy is leaving home to Gurukula, wherein he has to face all types of different people. And in the case of a girl, it is totally different. Leaves her home, goes to a new house, a new set of people about whom she knows nothing about. She may be welcome and not welcome by some. She may have to face many adversarial situations. It's like entering a wild jungle where you do not know what animal you will encounter when. Therefore, unless I am strong, every experience will become a traumatic experience. Krishna says for a person, no experience is traumatic or shocking experience. He is unshaken, and such a person is called yogi iti uchyate. Such a person is called a yogi. Stop here, continue in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Dhanyavadaha. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank
Hari
you, Guruji.
Om.
Hari Om.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಗುರುಜಿ ಹರಿ ಓಂ
Hari Om. Thank you.
Namaskaram, Guruji. Namaskaram.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Guruji.
Guruji.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram. Namaskaram.
Thank you, Guruji. Namaste.
Yes, Lataji, what's your question?
Thank you, Guruji. Namaste. Thank you for the wonderful, yet another wonderful session. So beautiful. I think even if one can assimilate just what is said in today's class, one should be a mukta. So beautiful it is. But in the midst of all this beautiful thing, I just have a very basic question about the four samanya preparation for Vedantic meditation that Krishna has described, Guruji. I'm not sure whether my order is correct. The first one is the unagitated mind. The second one is self-confidence, and the third one is self-effort, and fourth is self-management.
Correct.
So, you have spoken to some extent about these in your previous class as well. Now, my question is quite basic, is that when the self-confidence is low, how do we butt it up?
Develop self-confidence. You see, one way, Karma Yoga, if you practice Karma Yoga seriously, with full understanding of what Karma Yoga is, all these automatically get developed.
Okay.
Because when is the situation when you are low in self-confidence? You are low in self-confidence when you are actually attributing the success or failure of your effort to yourself. Isn't it? I am going to do this. I have to do this. I am not sure whether I can do it or not. I can achieve it or not. Suppose you are a nurse in a hospital and you are tending to a patient. You have been trained to do that, right? Will you be low in self-confidence? You will just say, I am doing it for this patient. Whatever needs to be done, I am doing it. Giving a sponge bath or changing the bandage or whatever it is, There's no question of confidence coming into the picture at all, whether I can do it or not do it. Similarly, when you are doing all your karmas with the attitude that all I am doing is I am as a offering to the Bhagavan, the question of confidence, self-confidence, no confidence doesn't come into it at all. You will never fail because you are not attributing success or failure to yourself. Everything you are distancing yourself from that. So, Karma Yoga is actually a very good preparatory thing for all these things. Therefore, what Krishna is talking about is nothing but third chapter, he talked Karma Yoga as a very broad this thing, right? Now, whenever he is getting opportunity, he is splitting or he is probably, dissecting the Karma Yoga into various aspects of what exactly is all that about. When you say Karma Yoga, what benefits you will get out of it, how to go about it also.
Yes,
But
Guruji. When we are in a kind of a known situation where you are going through a difficult time, then it is yes, you can keep your mental balance and say that okay, I'll do the coming. But when life puts you in a very new situation and throws you at a deep end of a new situation where you are kind of flapping and you don't know what's happening. That's when I was thinking. But then again, like Arjuna is thrown into a new situation altogether, and still keeping your focus and then doing the right karma is what is irrespective of the new situation.
that's it. Just focus on what is to be done to the best of your ability. The moment you think whether I will succeed or not, whether I will get the benefit which I am looking for or not, is the moment when all the problems come into the picture. When you say, I will do whatever I have to do to the best of my ability, and whatever result I get, I will accept it as Bhagavan's prasada, then there is no question of, all our problems arise from this ego point problem that identification with this body, mind, sense complex, and I am an achiever, I am this, I am that. This is where all the problems come up. And that is why this whole Bhagavad Gita is all about that. Krishna talks about samatvam in almost every chapter. Why he talks about samatvam? Every chapter he talks about samatvam. Reason is that is the secret. Whatever be the situation.
It requires a lot of grit to keep that focus. Because when it is just you and the situation, that is one thing. But when it is what you're doing or not, what you're not doing is going to affect the people around you, then that's when the chattering starts. So that needs all the more grit to keep on the path of karma yoga.
That's why the mana apamana is he talking about that. What mana apamana is nothing but our worry about the people around us. We want to be recognized. We want to be what's that? Encouraged by other people. It's an expectation. I'm not saying it is wrong.
That is later, but that is just that how you are going to deal with the situation is going to affect your own family members, their psyche, their emotions in any given situation. Where your responsibility becomes even more, how you act in that situation.
Yes.
Mana apamana is different, but
mana apamana is different. I agree with you. But the point here is such situations when they come, there are two things. How the family is going to be affected, how you are going to be affected by that. Right? So how you are going to be affected, is under your control. And how the family is going to be affected, for which you have to provide support to the family, because they are not into Vedanta. They don't know all these things, what we are discussing here every Saturday. You have to understand that. And that is not a negative thing, that you cannot look at it as a negative thing.
No.
You cannot. So you have to provide that support to the family. So your role, the way you deal with it is actually at two levels you deal with this. One is a level with which you are dealing with your own self, right? But more important than that is, as you say, if there are some circumstances, how you deal with the family, how you provide them the support, how you make them comfortable under these situations is more important. For you, Vedanta is there. For them, Vedanta is not there. You are there, Vedanta for them. But for that reason, you cannot start sitting and giving them lectures about all these, Bhagavad Gita and things like that and all, and tell them this is the only solution. No. So these are all, this is how the yogi evolves. When you look at all these things, when he says he is yukta, integrated not only in terms of one's own personality, but integrated in terms of handling all circumstances in and around that person. He is a yukta, he is a yogi.
So do your karma yoga, be on the path of karma yoga, and have compassion and kindness for everyone around you.
Absolutely. That is the way. And it is not, I will admit, it is not very easy. Not easy, not because it is not doable, because we have not been used to it. So we have to convert our past orientation into the new orientation. Have that kind of an approach, have the change of attitude, change of our own priorities rather. Most of the time, what we do in anything that is there, we prioritize ourselves first. My need, my requirement, my ragam, my dvesha is priority number one. To change the priorities, not mine, everything other people, what other people require, what other people's raga dveshas are, let me actually support them in that. And don't try to change what they believe in. Krishna was very, very particular, if you remember. He says, don't change what they believe in.
Yeah.
Let them evolve on their own, like you have evolved, isn't it? So these are all, it's a complete package kind of a thing. So karma yoga is a very, very important aspect of the whole thing. I mean, jnanam will come later. Let's forget it. If you are, that's why, even I think in the last, this, our Viveka Chudamani class also, no? All these things there also we are talking about Jnana Nishtha only, right? The qualities or the characteristics of a Jivan Mukta.
Yes.
There also 90% of these qualities you acquire during the Karma Yoga stage. Samatvam especially, you don't need Vedanta at all for that. You don't need Upanishad for Samatvam. Karma Yoga is Samatvam. If you practice Karma Yoga sincerely, you will attain that equanimity of mind. So all these are interconnected.
Thank you very much, Guruji, for the beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Yes, any other question? No hands are going up. So I guess we can end the session and continue in the next class. Okay. Hari Om. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.